Good afternoon. My name is Allison Lisdis, and I am assistant to Bishop Kevin Strickland, and I'm the director of advocacy. And I'm here today with Jeannie Ingram from the Tapestries Counseling Center. Jeannie, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course, yes. I am a licensed professional counselor here in Nashville, Tennessee. I specialize in relationship counseling, and I've been licensed since 95 and have been in practice since 2004. Prior to being in private practice here in Nashville, I lived in Atlanta for 10 years. And prior to that, I ran several nonprofits one at a time. But over the years, that's been my background is nonprofit.
Excellent. So I understand that Bishop Strickland was there to dedicate the Tapestries Counseling Center at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in Nashville on October 2nd. Can you tell me how this center came to be?
Absolutely. So a year ago, almost to the day, we were approached by the ELCA regional gift planner, the Reverend Anna Lugo, came and visited at our church, and then we made a plan to meet by Zoom, and then eventually she came to our house, and in a series of meetings, we talked about gift planning. And at the end of our meeting, and that was my partner Carolyn, and I met with her, and at the end of that meeting, she asked the question, what would you create if you could just create a legacy? And of course, that's a rhetorical question. And she left, and Carolyn later that afternoon said, well, what would you create if you could create a legacy? And I think I would create a counseling center. And we just she said, what would that look like? And, we talked about where it would be. And then I got this idea that ideally it would be located at Holy Trinity, because of the way I love the church. I love the building. I love the idea of the church having a mission like that. Just put together a spreadsheet that looked like it might both serve the community's mental health needs, which are great, especially post-pandemic, and also would serve the church's need for some kind of sustainable income beyond tithes and offerings and rent from the Catholic preschool. When I felt like I had a reasonable spreadsheet, I got kind of excited actually, and I approached Pastor Chris and asked him if he'd be interested in hearing about it. And he told the story on Sunday that I told him I thought I was being called to do this, and I'm not convinced it wasn't a call, but he said of course he'd be interested in hearing about it. And so we arranged a Zoom call, and I shared my screen and showed him my little spreadsheet. And he said, I think that sounds really exciting. And let's just see where the Holy Spirit takes us. So from there, a couple months later, we got word that the preschool was going to move out. And he reached back out with, that news and said, this counseling center, let's talk about that again. And this time, let's talk to the executive team of the council. So we did, and the executive team got really excited and said, let's present it to the council. And the council liked it, and then we decided to present it to the congregation, and the congregation liked it, and the doors kept opening. And the bishop happened to be in Nashville and asked if we were available for dinner. And he took Carolyn and me to dinner, and he asked about the counseling center, and he had a lot of great questions about how it would work. And I just assumed that he was really excited for us
Mhm.
And at the end of our conversation, he said, "So I have another question." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Could you use some money?" I said, "We could definitely use some money because we've been wondering, I mean, this was like stepping out there on faith, saying
Right.
we're going to do this. We just don't know how we're going to pay for it." But that's what faith is. So he explained that he had to close the church and that he was setting aside the money from the sale of that property to fund mental health or sustainable programs. I
Mhm.
don't know if they're all mental health, but programs like this in churches. And what a remarkable concept that is, right? Because
Right.
it's a death and resurrection kind of thing. Members of the church that met regularly, and we literally like just tossed out names and we had a little Google document that we were working with ideas, and it just little by little was one of the most fun things I've ever done was just create it with this group of people, and just we named it Tapestries because it made sense for our church, because the logo in our church is a tapestry, and we have two
Mm.
tapestries that hang in our sanctuary uh, on either side of the altar.
Mhm.
And so it just that we call ourselves a tapestry of faith. It's kind of like our identity statement.
Who are so are you up and running? Are you open for business yet?
We're about to be open for business. So I had a breakfast meeting this morning with our first counselor, and we were just doing nuts and bolts kind of planning, keys to the office, how everything works. I've interviewed the second person, and she's coming on board. And I'm moving my office as well. So I'm going to have one office at Tapestries, and we'll be open for business after the 29th of this month. So we're going to say we're going to start, November 1st, after everybody's had a chance to, find their way around the building. And I think this is a real logical solution for a church that was already searching for a mission.
Mm.
Besides, the ordinary things that churches do. That this is, I mean, as mental health is at a kind of a breaking point in the community, and in communities, I guess, all over the world. But certainly here in Nashville, I get so much more requests for help than I can provide.
Mm.
And I think that's true for most therapists because, number one, pandemic, number two, life and struggling relationships, and the crisis that our kids are facing, socially, and the terrifying experiences that they either have personally or hear about. And just life has gotten really challenging, and people need a place to unpack all that. And Tapestries will be here for those people.
That's so beautiful. Who is your intended clientele?
We're going to serve couples because I'm a marriage therapist. We're going to serve individuals with, anxiety and depression. We're going to serve kids and adolescents because of the challenges that they're facing. So we hope to have a play therapist. We already have just signed our trauma therapist. She is an EMDR therapist, if you've ever heard of something.
I have.
But she works with trauma victims and also with addiction. So our intended clientele is the hurting community. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your fee structure, because my understanding is you think everyone should have access to therapy.
Exactly. And so many, not to diss insurance companies, but it's hard to be a provider for an insurance company.
Mhm.
And it's also, hard to find good providers if you're a client. So we wanted to be available to our clients who can pay, and also be available to our clients who may not be able to afford a full fee. And so that's why the ability to offer a sliding scale is important, and why funding from other, outside sources like the Synod, for example, will help us be able to meet the needs based on, somebody's ability to pay, and also what their particular emotional needs. And that's why fundraising is so important. So if we're not Facebook friends, we should be, because I've got a link on my Facebook page right now, and I've got a goal of $5,000 to get us started. And the bishop has committed to funding scholarships for kids and teens.
Yes, I think it was $2,500 from the Synod directly for scholarships for children and youth who need the therapy.
Right.
So how can people or congregations of our Synod help you in this ministry?
People from the Synod can help by contributing to the fund that will make this service available. That's the primary thing, is that we have to, obviously we have the infrastructure that needs to be paid for. And I think also if you hear of any therapists who might be interested in coming to work for a program like this.
And if there are other churches in our Synod that would be interested in starting such a program, would you be willing to talk to them and help guide them through the process?
I would love to. I think this is an amazing journey. I would take it over and over again. So yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
It sounds like you have come up with quite a sustainable and super important ministry, which
I hope so.
which I think other churches would be interested in. I know at our congregation, we have talked about that. What is our legacy? Who are we?
That is the question. Who are we, and who are we called to serve? Right. And we're called to serve people regardless of where they are on their journey, where they are in their socioeconomic level. And I think it's a wonderful mission. I realize I'm partial to it, but never has there been a greater need for mental health services. And I think that by nature, counselors are empathetic people and want to help. And so it's a calling, by itself, really.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that we've said it all. I appreciate you being willing to do this, and I think, there is one more thing I'd like to add, that I don't think we could be this far along in our mission. We'd be on our way, but we wouldn't be nearly as far into our mission had it not been for the insight and foresight and vision and willingness and generosity of the bishop. And he's a remarkable man. He's a remarkable friend.
He sure is.
But he actually was our pastor when I joined our church. And so I have a really special relationship with him. Yeah.
That's great.
Full of gratitude for what he and the Synod are doing to help us with this.
Well, and like I said earlier, the Synod supports you in this mission, and the Synod has a huge commitment towards helping with the mental health crisis. So we're happy to help.
I do too, and I appreciate that so much. Yeah, and I look forward to continuing on the journey with the Synod, and I know firsthand their commitment. I've sat on a number of task forces related to this, so I know firsthand the commitment to it, and it's a worthwhile use of time and talent.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I look forward to hearing more about when you open and where it takes you and your first clients. That sounds so exciting.
Well, it is, and you'll have to come see it for yourself.
I would love to.
Well, and consider this an open invitation.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I like Nashville, so I would be happy to come.
Come on up.
Hey.
All right. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend, and congratulations to you. I'm very, very excited.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.